Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I guess you're. I got those just in
case. This to be like more of a discussion because,
right.
Like not just reading off notes. So we'll see.
Okay, I'm cool with that. I mean, you can just talk because I'm still.
Oh, okay.
I still got to set everything up.
Hey, while he's setting up, I'm Justin Howell. We are live at Scott's Chapel. We're continuing our series of the wisdom of God, and honestly, I'm excited. I've been excited about this lesson for like weeks because both Sean and I, we've dug into Proverbs. Proverbs is just such a good book to learn about God's wisdom, what God desires for us. And honestly, I think we're going to have like a good back and forth today. But be sure to take a look at Sean's YouTube series. Be sure to look at my YouTube series as well, Chaplain's Log. And today we're just going to go over Proverbs chapter 8.
All right, what does that look like?
That looks good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it looks weird on IG. Like, like it looks awful. But
I think it looks fine. Maybe my standards are just
you could just see the Sunday school lesson right here, the Sunday school book, and on my laptop.
Oh yeah.
But whatever. I want to try the other angle, see what it looks like. Oh no, that's awful. That's not gonna work. All right, well, we can get started.
I'll go ahead and read off the verses that we're going to learn today. So if you'll follow with me in Proverbs chapter 8, we'll go through verse 8 through 14. All the words of my mouth are just. None of them is crooked or perverse. To the discerning, all of them are right. They are upright to those who have found knowledge. Choose my instruction instead of silver, knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is more precious than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with her. I, wisdom, dwell together with prudence. I possess knowledge and discretion. To fear the Lord is to hate evil. I hate pride and arrogance, evil behavior and perverse speech. Counsel and sound judgment are mine. I have insight, I have power. Then we'll skip over to verse 17. I love those who love me, and those who seek me find me. With me are riches and honor, enduring wealth and prosperity. My fruit is better than fine gold. What I yield surpasses choice silver. I walk in the way of righteousness, along the paths of justice, bestowing a rich inheritance on those who love me and making their treasuries full. You want that back?
All right, yeah. You can keep it going.
Okay, well, I'll just go off. So like I said, both Sean and I really enjoy the book of Proverbs. You were saying one time, like when you were a new Christian, you really dug into Proverbs, right?
Yeah, like Proverbs, there's many ways to study the Bible. And one of the ways you can study the Bible is just taking a chapter in the Bible a day and just reading it over and over again. That's all you do. And then another way just with doing that, because you got to expound your knowledge when it comes to the Bible, really dissect it and go verse by verse, word by word, so you can read commentary on that chapter, listen to sermons on that same chapter. But there's 31 days on most of the months of the year. Well, not really. Probably just 3 months or 4 at the max. But anyways, you take the book of Proverbs and read a chapter a day yourself if you want. But that's what I did with Proverbs, man. Because Proverbs, man, just imagine if you had all the book of Proverbs memorized, what your life would look like. And not just memorized, but you understood every passage. Because there's just way too much insight in it, man.
Yeah, I think that's because Proverbs is it has such rich content. Right. It's easy to it's almost written for everyday life. It's not written for people who are super smart or elitists or people going to religious seminaries. None of those are wrong, but God's word, His wisdom definitely reaches out to the average man as well. And these verses especially filled with really good analogies. It's talking about how wisdom is to be treasured more than rubies, more than silver, more than gold. And I think all the verses are like that because it's supposed to start you with it's supposed to dig into your character. Right. A big part of this is you can ask yourself how's this how's wisdom better than material things or a good job or good friends or a good car and all that. Yeah. And it's it digs into your character. Honestly. Good character leads to good work ethic leads to prosperity, and all of that starts with just an awe of God. We were doing a lesson in Proverbs chapter 1 about how good wisdom, good knowledge starts with like a fear of God.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's where all of it starts. That's like the foundation of everything, right?
Man, when you said that, like that reminded me of like, you know how they say when you have money, your character really reveals itself when you have all the money in the world or when you have no money at all.
Oh yeah.
Right? So when you said that, that's what I thought about. Like, it exposes who you really are, you know, underneath. You know, and then like this passage is talking about, man, like you should pursue this more so than other things. So we'll get to that verse when we break it down. But like when one of the things I wanted to say was like there's so many like I wish we could have just broke down the whole chapter verse by verse, but it's 36 verses. It's like it's a lot of verses. So let me see how many verses it was. Yeah, it was 36 verses.
Yeah,
but like
for this one it's like 8 to 14. That's like
right. Yeah.
So it's a little bit.
Yeah, but like one of the ones that stuck out to me was at the end. Like the end was so powerful, bro. It said Proverbs 8 verse 32 to 36. So I'll let you read it from here because I got.
Okay. Which one?
Proverbs 8 32 to 36. It says, "Now therefore hearken unto me, O ye children, for blessed are they that keep my ways." So this is wisdom talking, and then they said wisdom's a type of personification. This is a personification in the Bible. So personification means, you can help me out with it. It just means you're putting like wisdom as a person, you know? So they're making wisdom into a woman right here. That's what Solomon's doing. Solomon was the one who wrote the book of Proverbs. And when you get to this verse right here, it says, "Now hearken unto me." Hearken means to listen, pay attention, take heed. Why? Because blessed are they that keep my ways. Like that was so powerful. And then in like verse 33 says, "Hear my instruction." You got to listen to it and be wise. If you listen to wisdom, if you seek what wisdom is, then you're wise. This is being wise. A foolish person wouldn't do this, which is another Proverbs verse. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
And refuse it not. Man, that was so powerful.
I find that really interesting. Yeah, I find that interesting. I find that interesting. You talk about like the personification of wisdom, because like later on in Proverbs, folly, like the opposite of what being wise is, like also personified as a woman. So that almost makes
it was gonna be a man. I was like, man, that was gonna be awful.
That would be funny. But no, it's almost like it's like two women vying for your attention. It's almost like being seduced. Like the beginning of Proverbs keeps saying, "My son, listen to me." Yeah. And it's like you're thinking of like this young man who's like new to the world, and then you have like these two women trying to seduce you into these two things. Like folly sounds like it'd be a lot of fun, but then you read that it leads to destruction. Right. But then here, if you listen to wisdom,
like you said that. What you just said, right?
Yeah.
You remember you asked a question yesterday, man. My favorite question you asked me was the question you were going to ask for this lesson. You said, "Why is wisdom true wealth? Why is it preferred over folly? If folly gives that instant gratification." So when you said what you said, you got folly trying to seduce you, and you got wisdom trying to seduce you. But one of them, you know, that game that people play, like I rather marry, kill, or you know.
Man, that's a really 90s. That's like a nice one. I don't think anyone's gonna know like what that is.
Well, I never knew about it.
That was like a grade school game.
I never knew about it till like college. Like nobody played it, but like they said, yeah, we used to play this game. I was like, what? What kind of game is that? I didn't know sex existed till I was 17, really. So like that's why I got mad at God. But anyways, like just with that question though, like folly and everything, like instant gratification, like. This woman, yeah, she'll give you what you want instantly, but like, she ain't a wife, you know, she ain't marriable, you know, whatever word you're gonna use. Then
that's that's a good way to put it.
Right, and then like wisdom though, it's long lasting, it's eternal. Like instant gratification sounds fun, you rush to get it, we rush to get things all the time, but that's being foolish. Yeah. That leads to destruction.
I think folly looks so good too, because like we live in like speaking of instant gratification, have you heard like how the U.S. is described as like a microwave society? Like you pop in a dinner in the microwave and you get it out instantly. You don't have to take that time to cook or anything like that. And that's true. Like we want things now. Like with internet, with like high speed, with high speed phones, with anything. It's like we want that information now. We want that satisfaction now. And like that's I think that's why it's so seductive, because with folly, we can get girl instantly. But yeah, like you said, I love that you said that that's not wife material. Like
Right.
with wisdom, you might not see it right away, but man, hindsight is always 20/20. If you look back on a life of someone who had wisdom versus someone who like lived in folly, then you could definitely see like a Christ living in them.
Right.
Because like a big part of wisdom is like it's not just showing you wisdom, it's showing like the wisdom within you as well.
Right.
Because like you said, it's like a vicious cycle. You have to be wise to be looking for wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for wisdom, you're going to get wisdom from God.
Right. Yeah. And so let me finish those verses, man. It feels so powerful. Verse 34 of Proverbs 8 says, "Blessed is the man that heareth me." Man, blessed means happy. You get to receive favor. And that goes into verse 35, but let me finish 34. Blessed is the man, happy is the man. Blessed, prosperous, all that stuff, favorable. God's favor is on you. Is the man that heareth me, pays attention to wisdom and seeks out wisdom. Watching daily at my gates, waiting at the posts of my doors. Like Proverbs 8 started off saying, like, wisdom, I'm calling out to you. Can you please hear me out? Like, I'm calling out to you. Come take what I have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And like the people who are wise are the ones who are watching daily at my gates. They're constantly trying to grow in faith, constantly trying to gain more wisdom and understanding so they can navigate through life, waiting at the posts of my doors. Like, and then also in verse 35, I'll just keep on going because it's all gonna come back together. Like verse 35 said, "For whoso findeth me findeth life," man. That's like what Jesus said. You'll have life and life more abundantly if you follow my way. If you do what I say to do, if you keep my commandments, you're the one who loves me. You're the one that likes wisdom. So I'm gonna talk about that too. Also, like wisdom. Who is wisdom? What is wisdom? Like here, Solomon is saying wisdom's a woman, but where does wisdom come from? Who is wisdom? God is wisdom, right? We're going to talk about that too. Like the book of Proverbs ties into everything in the Bible. Verse 30, and I'm going to finish verse 35. "For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall attain favor of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his soul. All that hate me love death." I mean, that was so powerful. Like people who just want stuff instantly, they're not caught. They don't take precautions. They don't have common sense. They fail to understand the consequences of their actions, So they love death, and it's so powerful, man. Like this whole thing is about to tie back in together. But some of my points I wanted to make was not loving God is loving wickedness. And we're going to talk about that too, man. Because like when it went to evil, talking about evil in that verse, and what I'm trying to say, that verse.
Yeah.
And then rejecting wisdom only hurts us is another main point I want to make. Then we know we're following in wisdom and in Jesus' footsteps when what we say and do makes the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest thing, like the biggest point I want people to get from this lesson, man.
I like the sections you were talking about, like just blessings. Like really, like what is that? Because wisdom and God are promising blessings, and like that's a very Christianese thing to say, but it's very difficult to like understand what it is. It makes me think of the Beatitudes, like blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn.
Right.
And it's like it doesn't seem like those people have blessings.
Right.
But it's like part of being blessed is like seeing the face of God.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge part of what you're saying as well, as like understanding God or like seeing more of God or being on the same wavelength of God. And I really think like understanding God is the foundation. That way we can understand what he wants for us.
Right.
Being blessed doesn't mean that we're richer or have more friends or have more followers. Like being blessed means that we are closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
And like a big part of wisdom as well. That's a big thing about Jesus as well, is wisdom is supposed to be the epitome of like who God is. But it's very difficult for us to understand. But it wasn't until the word became flesh that we could see wisdom lived out in everyday life as well.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of Proverbs are trying to get at, is if you have an awe of God, that leads to like that good character. And then that leads to the prosperity that God really wants for you. Mm-hmm. And then I like the 35 where you obtain favor of the Lord.
Right.
Like that means that we can't get those blessings or those wisdom ourselves.
Right.
Like, how can we give something to ourselves if we don't have it yet?
Yeah.
And it makes me think of like when Abraham was first called out to go from God. It was saying that Abraham was blessed by God.
Right.
And that was before Abraham had done anything. This was like the first chapter. It meant that it wasn't any works or anything that Abraham did. He didn't bless himself.
Mm-hmm.
This was something that God had to pour down for him. Right. It's the same with like the personification of wisdom here. Like the words from their mouth. That makes me think of Genesis. Like how creation came to being because God said it.
Right.
And that's just something we have to receive graciously. Like we have to keep seeking it, but it really shows that wisdom is something that's shared with anybody who's looking for it as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Man, we should just go to the verses though. Man.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah, I think we can like just talk about how great wisdom is all day.
But I want people to understand, man, like what is wisdom, but how do you get wisdom? You know? Mm-hmm. So what is wisdom? Like James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God. Let him ask God. You can't offer something and give people something you don't have. You know? Mm-hmm. God has wisdom. He is wisdom. It says later on in chapter 8 of Proverbs, it talks about how, you know, wisdom was there when God created the heavens and earth. Wisdom helped him to be able to do it effectively. Mm-hmm. You know, so wisdom comes from God. So we can ask God for anything. Who gives generously to all without reproach. He's not going to make fun and say, hey, you don't know something, you're an idiot. No, he wants you to ask him because he has it all. And that's what wisdom is talking about in chapter 8. God wants to give you this kind of wisdom so that you can navigate through life and live a righteous life, like verse 8 talks about. So
just talking about what is wisdom. I think like there's a big difference between wisdom and knowledge too. That should be pointed out because man, I know a lot of smart people. Like who have like a lot of knowledge. Who have a lot of knowledge for science and math. Who know like a lot of the mysteries of the universe. But like it's weird because you can be the smartest person in the room, but sometimes the dumbest as well. And it's like wisdom is being able to know how to use knowledge as well. Like you can know all the biologics or the chemistries of the human body, but that doesn't mean we know the purpose of a person either. And I really think that's like wisdom because only God knows your plans or the purpose he has for you. So I feel like you have to continuously ask for that to receive it.
Right. Yeah.
And I think like we can start going through the verses. Like the first verse, verse 8, all the words of my mouth are just. It's like saying like wisdom is not just something God dispenses. It's like his being. It's like it's a character. It's who he is. And like, because they're just like, it means it's not wrong. It's like, it's hard to say like, it's hard to say any statement is just true because it is. Like, that's such a dad thing to say. Happy Father's Day, by the way. It's such a dad thing to say is like, why do I have to do this? Because I said so. But for this, it's like the words are automatically just, not just because of the material, not because of the words that are being dispensed, but because who it's coming from.
Right. Yeah. And like, so here goes some points I was going to make for that. Just verse 8, man. Wisdom words are grounded in what is just, like you said. Then wisdom contrasts us with what's hidden and what's a mystery. It contrasts us with what's a lie, what's deceitful, what's foolishness, and what's evil. Like, you know, like it excludes all that stuff. So twisting lies and twisting the truth and omitting key details, wisdom doesn't do. It's plain for everybody to understand and see. It's obvious, you know, but you got to have common sense to understand it, you know. So wisdom, you know, nothing is crooked or perverse in wisdom's words. So when people uses lies, they shouldn't be trusted to communicate wisdom. And that talks about a lot of leaders in today's time period, you know.
Yeah, and then, I like that because it kind of shows intentions behind words. Again, it's like of course there's verses that say like the tongue is like a powerful weapon. It's like it's like a double-edged sword. It can like help you or hurt you for sure. But Jesus said like make your yes mean yes and your no's mean no. I think it's very easy to use technically correct words, but like perverse them in a way that it hurts people as well.
Oh, and that's another thing. Like verse 8, man, it says, all the words
Mhm.
of my mouth are righteousness. So every word that I say is the right way of living. Like it's truth.
Mhm.
It's perfect, you know? And that talks about the word of God. But us, like, first of all, we should do that when we talk. If we don't know what we're talking about, don't say anything. That's wisdom. That's a wise person, you know? But if you understand it, you're going to do what it takes to, like, make sure justice is done. Like, that's another quality for wisdom. Like, when Solomon asked for wisdom, he was asking, so Solomon asked God for wisdom. He could ask him for anything. God said, what do you want? And God said, I'm happy that you asked for wisdom because you could have asked for all the riches. You could have asked for fame. You could have asked me to destroy all your enemies. But because you asked for wisdom, because Solomon, when he asked for wisdom, he knew that he was just a young guy. Like, he didn't know anything. So he said, I want to, have a discerning heart so I can govern your people and distinguish right and wrong. Distinguish between right and wrong.
Yeah.
So
I think it's because he asked for wisdom too that he got so much more than he asked for as well. Like if he asked for one specific thing, he would have just gotten that specific thing. But wisdom was like something that affected all areas of his life and affected his, like compared to King David, his reign was like a period of peace.
Right.
And that came because like he had asked for wisdom and he knew how to rule correctly, how to rule justly.
Yeah. And then like with verse 8 too, bro, like this part was real powerful. Like the last part of it, it says there's nothing forward or perverse in them. So like, you know how people pick and choose what they want to believe in the Bible? Like when you're a wise person, you heed on every single word from God. Like it's your daily bread. Like so many verses says, like seek the word, because it's, it's life, all those verses like that. So like all the word of God is pure. You can't pick and choose. You got to take all of it.
Right.
You're twisting and corrupting the word. And when you do that, and so man is the one who perverse and twist what God says. But like when you're wise, no. God, whatever wisdom has to say, that's it. You don't argue with it. You don't try to refute it. And that's a wise person. Like, like I was going to ask, like, what is wisdom? Because everybody got a different opinion on what wisdom is. But one of the biggest downfalls of what people think wisdom is like, I got to do something in order to get it. Like I need the experience. Like one time me and Johnny did a podcast on experience versus knowledge, or like really wisdom ties in with knowledge, but then no, it doesn't. Like it's experience versus knowledge versus wisdom. Which one would you rather have? Like when you're in a job interview, they want you to have experience, but experience don't mean anything if a person can do way more than you can do with no experience at all. Like, but like, no, like in today's world, you need experience, but like wisdom is all that. It's having the experience, having the knowledge. And even when you don't have the experience, you have the understanding and the knowledge to be able to effectively, navigate through an interview, but like, navigate through life and, know all the intricacies between whatever topic, you studied or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's true wisdom. Like I don't have to put my hand on the stove and see if it's hot. If my parents say it's hot and I saw my brother get burned from it, why would I touch it? That's wisdom. You know what I mean? I don't have to hurt myself to figure out if it hurts me.
Yeah.
That's a wise person. That's why wisdom is saying, I'm calling out to you. Like you need this for life. Like the titles were beautiful, man. Like one title was give God's great gift. Another title was building God's house. Like that one was powerful. Building God's house. Like your temple is God's house. And you're trying to build, and then also your life. It doesn't belong to you, it belongs to God. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? You're building a life that's honoring and beautiful.
Yeah. I like that because especially today, you feel like you have to be self-made to like have people make you feel like you have to be self-made to like be of any worth, but like none of us are self-made. Like we didn't control our birth. We don't control as much as we think we have control over. Like we're God-made. And so when we build that temple that you're talking about, we have to depend on God. Otherwise we're on a sandy foundation. We won't be able to support, like when life throws something at us, and we don't have that experience or we don't have that wisdom, we don't know what to do and our temple falls down.
Right. Yeah.
So we have to, like, first and foremost, we have to actually acknowledge God. We have to take the words that he's giving us, not try to come up with our own wisdom, or as you say, if we don't know anything, we shouldn't be like saying whatever we think or pretending we know. I know I do that too sometimes.
Right.
I'm sorry to say.
One of the main points I had was like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So it's smart to just say you don't know, like especially at work. Like that's what I learned. Like, don't say you know something when you don't know something.
That's what I like about the next verse. Is like, to the discerning, all of them are right. They're upright to those who have found knowledge. This automatically makes me think of a very humble person. It makes me think of someone who's like actually looking for wisdom because it will help them with right or wrong.
Right.
It's not when you try to perverse words, or when you try to talk about something you don't know, like that is purely for your own agenda. At that point, you're not trying to push God's kingdom forward. You're trying to push your status forward.
Right.
And then that automatically nullifies you trying to be upright. But if you're actually, once again, I just like this cycle. Like for everyone who's trying to look to be right, who's trying to discern to be right, not for them, but for God, then God will allow them to be right and just.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like that verse, like we're on verse 9, right? So Proverbs 8:9. So Proverbs 8:9 reads this: "They are all plain to him that understandeth, and right to them that find knowledge." Right. So when I saw plain, they are all plain to understand. Wisdom's plain and easy to understand. Right. Like, you know how God says, "Those who humble themselves will be exalted. Those who humble themselves will receive my grace. But to those who are prideful, who are arrogant, who think they know everything, they will be humbled." They won't know the truth. They'll be resisted by God. Like, God is wisdom. So like people who think they're wise and know everything, like atheists and agnostic people, like people like that, like you don't know anything. Like if God is real, then why would you think you know more than him?
And that's kind of sad. So like, that's kind of sad because like today's society will say that righteousness and justice and prudence and fairness are all good qualities, but they will scoff at the idea that it comes from God. Like that doesn't make sense. With the Bible is supporting, like take Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Like lots of people say that that pretty much the summary or the paraphrasing of it is all correct. Then why not believe the person who it came from as well? Like if you think all the wisdom adds up to an upright life, if all the instruction are definitely show a life that's more valuable than silver and gold, then why would you not believe the source that it came from?
Right. Yeah. And then also like the Bible isn't deep or complicated. We make it deep and complicated. Man does. You know, it's simple. Like God's word is easy to understand. To who? To those who seek, study, read, and just try to find out the truth. If you don't do those two things, like if you don't do all those things, first of all, and it's a daily thing. Like we're gonna talk about later on, like if you're working, you know, people had great bodies when they were young, but when they got older, like if you lift the weights all in your childhood since birth, you're gonna look amazing. But like when you get older and you don't, let's say you don't lift ever again in your life after the age of 18, you think you're gonna have that same body? No, you're gonna lose it.
Yeah, it's something you have to keep. It's something you have to keep up like all the time. Yeah.
So like explain to those who trust God and honor God's word, who continually put in the effort to figure out what is this Bible all about. But like to the people who scoff at the word of God, it's all a mystery. It's stupid. It's dumb. But like not to us, you know. So
yeah, that makes me think of the verse. That makes me think of the next verse in a verse from Jesus as well. The next one was like, choose my instruction, and Jesus was saying you have to like carry your cross every day. You have to die to in Galatians, you have to die to yourself every day. And it's like, as he said, it's like if you want to be physically strong, you have to like lift you have to lift constantly. If you want to be wise, you have to take that instruction constantly as well. Like instruction here was like, I think the Hebrew word for it was a paideia, which can also mean like discipline. Like for like lots of people think like a discipline or like taking instruction from somebody else can be like a negative thing. But for like here, it's like God, it's like God correcting. Yeah, it's where God is like correcting you because he loves you. Like he's giving you this instruction because he loves you. That's why it's more precious than like silver or gold, is because it is a gift of God that's supposed to rectify your life.
Right.
Like you may think that nothing is wrong in your life, but man, that's a bold-faced lie right there. Even Christians are very aware, like they have sinful life. It's not like we're bam, you're a Christian and you're perfect.
Yeah.
You have to have like constant rectification, constant correction, constant instruction. And I think that's why we need to keep seeking it too. Like, shoot, if you saw something you really wanted to buy, or when you were a kid and you wanted to like buy the latest video game, or when you got older, if you wanted to like buy a car, you always like saved money. You worked your butt off. Like if something was precious for you, you worked for it, right? Like if wisdom or instruction or something that like visibly fixes your character is more precious than silver and gold, like why would you not put the effort in? Right. Like if you wanted like a good body, I don't know why I flex. I don't have the body to flex. If you wanted like a good body, you put in the effort to like work out. If you wanted to like have a good spiritual life, why would you not put in the effort? Like that's a huge part of sanctification.
Yeah, man, like that. I want to read verse 10 and 11. So take, I want to do the King James version, but one's like,
do which one?
All right, so take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice of gold. Is making money more important to you than anything?
I like that you brought that up.
Right.
I like that you brought that up, and that nothing you desire.
Right.
Because that almost makes it seem like true wisdom is unfathomable to us. It's like beyond our comprehension because it's that precious.
Right.
And I think Jesus definitely warns us that I always want to start off with a pretense that money isn't necessarily bad, especially if you're like trying to support a family or just because you care for other people or care for your own well-being. But Jesus definitely warns that material wealth can get in the way of, like, seeking material wealth can definitely get in the way of seeking the precious gifts that God has for us as well.
Right. Yeah. So like, man, like we get so distracted with physical things that you can accumulate in this life. Like, and it's everybody. Everybody does it in some different way, you know. And like, you know, it's like what Jesus said too: where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Like God is telling us constantly through the scriptures, like, store up treasures in heaven. You know, seek ye first the kingdom of God, all His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Like, you need money, there's a way to get money that God wants you to get money, and it's gonna last longer. It's gonna lead to storing our riches in heaven. But like we try to rush things, like these pyramid schemes and everything like that. We're like, some of us are seeking rich and fame and glory, and like if you focus on the wrong things, you're gonna miss out on life. You're gonna miss out on true life. You know what I mean? Like
that almost goes back. that goes back to what you just said made me think of like what we're talking. Instant gratification. It's like you can instantly get something you like, but you can instantly lose something. Lose everything. Like man, I heard these heartbreaking stories of like some people in California who just like lose their homes in fire.
Right.
And it's like that's decades of stuff lost in like literally half an hour. And like if that's your foundation, then where do you go like after you lose your foundation? Like you just fall through. Or if you put all your effort into a job and suddenly you lose your job, like where do you even go from there?
Right.
It's like I like that you said that it allows us to like live true life, because if we're trying to live for something else, it's like we can easily lose that.
Yeah, you miss out on what your purpose of life was. Like and like it's so many verses, man, like Proverbs 23:5-4, man. It says, do not wear yourself out trying to get rich. Do not trust your own cleverness. Wow. Like verse 5, cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone, for they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like eagles. Like an eagle, right? And then like Ecclesiastes 6:1-2. Like I love the book of Ecclesiastes, especially like with these verses. So I'm about to read Ecclesiastes 6:1-2 and Ecclesiastes 6:9-10. It says, I have seen another evil under the sun. And Solomon wrote this too, by the way. And it weighs heavily on mankind. God gives some people wealth, possessions, and honor so that they lack nothing their hearts desire. But God does not grant them the ability to enjoy them. Why? And strangers enjoy them instead. That was so powerful, man. Like, this is meaningless and a grievous evil. Like, we're chasing after things that we want, that we think that's best for us. But when we seek wisdom, when we seek understanding, and we don't have the right perspective on like where to go in life, like so many people don't know what the purpose is or what they should be doing with their lives. But when you seek God, God tells you exactly what to do with your life. You're not going to be chasing after the wrong woman thinking that that's your wife and waste 30 years with her when you're supposed to be with somebody else. Like, like it's so many ways. Like you're in the wrong career. Like how many people are in the wrong career? Like wasting away. Like I hate America. Like America out of all countries, because when I went to Turkey, it was not like this at all. Like America out of all countries, we're the most money hungry. I would say I haven't been to China yet, but
yeah, I was about to say
I can imagine them being the same way. But like all we do is work. Like Rihanna sings, like 8 hours a day. Like Turkey, they don't even work 8 hours a day. They work 6 hours and then they take an hour break. Like it's a mandatory hour break for everybody nationwide in Turkey. And you have to go to sleep. Like just rest. Mm-hmm. You can't work during the day, during the work hours. Like so they're more like family oriented and just relaxing and enjoying life.
South America is like South America has like their businesses have to close at a certain time,
right?
Which I kind of like, and they have like a siestas as well, where they just like have to like rest and take that time away. And it's like it's really sad because like in East Asia, since we're talking about different countries, like East Asia as well. Like I love the culture, my mom's culture over in Taiwan, but like looking at statistics for China or Japan or South Korea, it's like suicide rates are like so high, and it's because they're really correlating it because of like how much they're expected to work. Like they're trying to, a lot of companies just expect workers to work all the time, and the workers expect that from themselves to like work overtime without pay, just because that's like it's a status thing. It's because wealth is like put into your identity,
right?
And it's like if you don't put in that work, then where's your identity? And it's kind of terrifying because like we were talking about how gaining more wisdom is pretty much like knowing more about God, knowing what He wants from you,
right?
Knowing what He wants as your life. And like Ecclesiastes, man, you're like, yeah, Ecclesiastes can hit you hard if you're not mentally prepared for what you're going to read. And sometimes you like look at celebrities who obviously are not living the most Christian-like lives, but they have like all these riches, and
you honor that and want it, and you take pleasure in that, but they don't. Like
yes. And then people are wondering. Then people think, oh wow, it's like Christianity doesn't have to do anything with that. Like look how glamorous their lives are. But like Romans explicitly talks about how people who live like that's the punishment that God's going to give them is. It's not divine thunder or fire coming from the sky. It's going to be that they live in their own sin. They live with the consequences that they get. Unfortunately, like with the countries who, America included, in which they are expected to find their identity in work or with how much they have, like God's going to give them what they deserve. That's going to be material possessions that they work for, but it's also going to lead to like a miserable life with no foundation in it.
Right, like no happiness, no joy. Like to not have contentment is to not have joy,
Mm-hmm.
And then, man, there's so much with that verse, man. Like wisdom, like what God has to offer. Wisdom is talking about God, first of all. What God has to offer you is better than all the riches on earth. Ruby is one of the most expensive. Like, what is a ruby? Like, you got emerald, diamonds,
sapphires.
I guess it's a diamond. Like, I don't know,
yeah.
But like, ruby is the most expensive out of all of them. Diamond's probably close,
Yeah.
But like, there's a reason why they said rubies
and that's
and gold and silver. Like,
that's so crazy. That's so crazy to me too, because like, it's literally just another mineral.
Yeah.
Like chemically, like the chemical composition, there's nothing special about it. Like it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to look at, but like our society really puts value into it. Like diamonds used to not have that marketing or society
rappers.
Yeah. Rappers. Or like society saying that these have value or these are the girl's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
This makes me sound like anti-buying gifts for your girlfriends.
Yeah. Like,
I don't want to tell boyfriends don't buy your girlfriends gifts, but like really think about it. Like you think they have value because society has put value into them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like once again, like if you lose a diamond ring, it's gone. Like, I guess you could get another one, but like, why are you placing so much trust in like all these rubies or diamonds and like material possessions when you can have like a life that, when you can have a life that you just know how it's going to end, that you know that God has it all planned out. Like that's a huge thing about wisdom, is just being assured that rest.
Right.
Like you can be so stressed with work or obtaining that status. We've been going back and forth about that a lot, is like material possessions, because it's using Proverbs is like using that as an analogy a lot, is that it's more valuable than silver and gold because we work so much for it.
Right.
But like, why would we not work for a life that gives us assured rest? Like, why would we want to be stressed out trying to get all this wealth? Why would we not? I think that's where that rest comes from, is because we don't have to stress so much about what's going to happen, because we know God already knows. Yeah. That's almost a contradictory statement, is that we have more wisdom by acknowledging how little wisdom we have. Right. We gain more wisdom because we acknowledge how much wisdom God has. Yeah. It's like I went to a great sermon one time about how we can't put all our happiness on one person in a marriage. Like that is so stressful for one marriage. Why would you expect your entire happiness on one person? Not to say that you don't try to make that person, your spouse, the happiest person in the world, but it's just like you have to acknowledge that God needs to be a foundation of that marriage. Like same thing for this. You can't put on all that pressure to bring yourself happiness. Like that's just so much on your shoulders. It's such a blessed assurance to know that God shoulders all of that. God shoulders our sins. He shoulders all our anxieties. He shoulders all the things that bring us worry. Like as Jesus said, like God takes care of the birds and the trees, the flowers and the bees. That rhymes. I guess I'll use it. But why wouldn't He take care of you? Like things will, like life is tough though. It's gonna throw a curveball at you, and it's gonna seem like God's gone for a while. But honestly, that's because of our strewed expectations of what we expect from God. God's never promised us like a nice house or a car. He's never promised, I'm going to give you the nicest camel to you, Abraham. He promised His blessings, and He promised like a life full of God and a heart full of God. And that's what we really need to be looking for as well when we're looking for wisdom. Same with, I'm blanking who came after Moses, Aaron. Yeah. He promised, Aaron was like very scared about filling in the shoes of his predecessors. Joshua, yeah, that's it. Of Joshua. But God promised him prosperity. And I love how the Bible uses prosperity, because it's so different from how we think of prosperity. Right. Like He promised Joshua that he would be able to lead, and that it wasn't all on him. Like God would be there. God would be by his side. And that's what we expect from this as well, is when we find sound judgment, or when we have insight, or when we have power, it's not what we're expecting. It's what God wants to give us, to lead a good life, to lead a life free of anxieties, to lead a life that is in Him. And like when we're in Him, we grow in Him. Like once again, that's a big part of sanctification. We become more Christ-like. I think that's the biggest blessing of all, is just to have that good character. Because when we die, like Ecclesiastes, when the rich, when the poor, when the evil, when the good, when they die, they all go to the same place. They go to the ground. Right. But when you go to heaven, like, what are you going to tell God that you have? Like the only thing that you can take up there with Him is like how you led your life, like your experiences, what you did with that life.
Yeah, man. Like we're gonna get to that in the later verses, like a lot. So like, I just want people to understand, man. Money can buy you certain things, but it can't buy you everything. It's limited. Like money can do a lot of things, but it's limited. What can wisdom do? Man, wisdom will teach you the right way to go. It will protect you from problems, from snares, from problems is inevitable. You're going to face problems and trials, but like it will protect you from making a mistake to put you in a deeper hole, in a deeper situation than what you shouldn't be in. You know what I mean? Like it protects you from bad choices.
Yeah, that kind of makes me think of lies as well. Like when you tell this is telling you to avoid like perverse speech. That's like with lies. When you tell one lie, you have to like continuously tell more lies to support it.
Right.
I remember like Big Bang Theory. I actually don't watch that much. My brother and sister do.
Right.
But there's like
this
this really interesting scene where like Sheldon like tells one lie to help his friend, but then he starts hiring an actor to like support this lie, or he goes on the internet to make this fake website to continue to support that lie, and it just like shows you the escalations of like having to support that lie. Same thing with what you were saying, like to support your expectations of what money can buy you. You're constantly wanting more.
Yeah.
Like it's you're constantly hungry, but you're like eating stuff that doesn't fill you up. You're filling yourself.
Never satisfied.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Like I know we're gonna go back to that. Like 17.
Yeah, sorry, I know I keep jumping ahead.
Nah, it's cool, man. Like I just know we're gonna have to stop at like 55 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then start another video. It sucks.
Yeah.
So if I go an hour on Instagram, it'll shut off.
Okay.
I think
Let's finish up 17 through 21 then. I think we can make that.
Okay, let's try it then. All right, so we ain't even done verse 12 yet. 12 and to 14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Proverbs 8 verse 12 says, I wisdom dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. So another version reads, let's do a simple version. I wisdom live with prudence and obtain knowledge and discretion. So what does that mean to you? Like, first of all, when I saw prudence, I thought of Dear Prudence, come and sing. That's guitar wrong.
Oh, okay. I was gonna tell you what I thought of prudence, but that's like I don't even know where to begin.
I love that song on Guitar Hero, man. Like I still got good goosebumps, so just playing it.
Oh man.
With John
man, all my favorite songs are on Guitar Hero. But with like prudence, that's funny that you mentioned prudence first. Well, that's not where I thought you were gonna go with that, honestly. But with like prudence, the Hebrew word for that is mezima.
Okay.
And like it's actually used multiple times in the book. In the Bible, like in negative and positive ways. Like Mezima was a way to describe the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and it meant it could be translated as scheming. But you kind of think, man, what does prudence have to do with like wisdom? But for here, it's like discreet. I'm glad they follow up in the next line with discretion, because now prudence is supposed to mean like, how do you discern what is good and evil?
Right.
Like making the right choices. So once again, that goes back to our definition of wisdom of like what to do with that knowledge. So prudence is like, how do you tell right from wrong with the information that you have?
Yeah. How do you effectively take action and then be able to tell when somebody's trying to run a game on you or something. Yeah. I'm not PlayStation. Like Mingo saying.
Yeah, because even Jesus said like we have to be innocent as doves, but like shrewd as serpents, and that's like a hard balance.
Right.
But I think I think that's why you have to pray for prudence, because we might not know it on our own.
Yeah. And that's how, like, one of the main points I was going to say, wisdom blesses those who obtain it. Like, it keeps good company. Wisdom does. But it protects you it helps you to avoid bad people. It gives you the discernment to know when something's about to lead to destruction. That's what wisdom is. It's foresight, foreknowledge, insight, to know how things are going to play out. That's what God gives. Like, that's a testimony for me. I was going to ask, like, earlier, and we're not talking about it, but, like, I was going to say, when was a time where you didn't know what to do with your life and God gave you an answer? And how did you go about finding that answer? You went to God's word, you prayed, you constantly went to his word, constantly looked at probably Bible stories to be able to, articulate it and, bring it back to your situation of, what you should do. And then God speaks to you. Like it doesn't come quickly. It's not instant gratification. It comes over time. Like you gotta be like a persistent widow, constantly ask, constantly go to God. Then God gives you an answer. Yeah. So like that's what it does. Like go ahead.
I like how you said like discretion is like avoiding that path of evil, or like turning away from evil, because like the next verse is saying like to fear the Lord is to hate evil. Right. And that's like such a hard thing to describe to non-believers as well, or even young Christians. Is like a healthy fear. Like you can think of fear as like being afraid of dad's belt, right? Like just being scared, like just being scared or being submissive. And like, that's not where that's coming from. That's like a reverential fear of the Lord, a healthy respect. And someone put it really, and I asked the question before, like, how is the fear of the Lord and how's hating evil? How's that connected? Like, how are those two things that are correlate with each other? And someone I was talking to put it really well in that it's kind of like with a child with a parent. They're afraid of disappointing them, or they want to be sure that they make them proud. They want to be sure to follow in their footsteps because they love them, because they're scared of straying too far away and disappointing them. And I think this is the same thing. We're scared of doing the wrong thing because we want to do the right thing in God. And that's why that leads to hating evil. Wanting to do good with God, because God is the essence of good. Being good in God is the same thing as hating evil. It's like hating that pride and arrogance, because like pride leads to the fall. That's always the first deadly sin people mention is like pride, because that's like that's a big sin of the devil. And like when you have pride, it goes back to what we were saying, like you try to make yourself self-made, but you don't have the tool. Like if you're only using the tools that you have, you aren't going to build yourself up very high. It's something you have to humble yourself in order to obtain.
Like one of the biggest things that I saw with this, like I'm not going to look at my notes, but all evil must come to an end. You know, all evil. And evil comes in many facets, in many ways, and it's all disguised, really. It ain't disguised. Some of it's evident. But some of it, it's just seldom. It's just slipped under the rug. So like racism will be one. Like how cops operate probably. Like even black people, how black people talk to cops sometimes. Not all black people, to get them in situations that they're put in. But sometimes it doesn't even happen like that. Sometimes the cops, but just that whole thing, like Black Lives Matter and what's going on. Like some people don't think it's evil. And like when it comes to God's wisdom, it helps you to minister and discern justice. Like it's justice being served. This ties in with spiritual things. Because remember, Solomon asked for wisdom so he can discern and administer justice to the land. He wanted to be a great ruler. In order to be a great ruler, you have to do that. You can't just negate it and forget it. So one thing I learned from this lesson is like, if you don't administer justice or don't care for justice to be administered, you don't have the wisdom of God. You're very far from God. Because in order to have that, you got to fear the Lord. You got to go to God. How many leaders actually, and it's going to talk about that too in the verses, how many leaders actually fear the Lord? They go to God constantly before they make any choices. They know the word of God, and then they apply it to their life to be able to act for others, on others' behalf, to make sure God's way is being permeated throughout the land, And that's what I learned. Like, like it hurt too. Like, like I see it, you see it, they don't see it. Like blue lives matter more than white lives matter more than black lives. That hashtag I told you. White lives matter more than black lives. Or more than even blue lives. Like blue lives matter more than black lives. Like, no, all lives matter, Like, but to them, it's only, and then people have been commenting a lot on that Colin Kaepernick picture I posted. I don't know if you saw it. But Colin Kaepernick taking a knee Colin Kaepernick taking a knee during the national anthem, like you all know. And then with Jared Shavin, whatever his name is, taking a knee on George Floyd. Some people literally said they were more offended by what Colin Kaepernick did than somebody dying. Because they said, look at the autopsy. He didn't die that way. Did you not see what happened? And it wasn't just him. I looked up somebody else.
Yeah, because he had a lot of previous medical conditions. Too.
And they said he was holding up a gun to a woman. Like they were just trying to pin stuff on him that he did 13 years ago. It had nothing to do with the situation. Then on top of that, I saw another situation, the same exact situation. This guy was a veteran. And he was light-skinned. He wasn't even dark-skinned. He was light-skinned. And he was a veteran. And a cop did the same thing to him in 2016. And it's just now being surfaced. Like, it's just now being shown. I don't even know if it happened in 2016. Probably 2008. I'm seeing different dates, but
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a case where like people are perversing information, because you can use any information to get what you're trying to say.
Right, you're twisting the truth. You're twisting and being crooked. Like the first verse said, people who have wisdom, they have discernment, and have good sense and common sense, they don't twist and perverse what they see. It's evident. It's plain. Right? Like the next verse said in verse 9 in chapter 8 of Proverbs. And because it's plain and it's so easy to see, we see injustice and we don't try to, justify it. No, we call it out and we speak out on it and say it's wrong. It needs to be changed. But there's so many people, just because it doesn't apply to me, they have biases towards, what they want to believe and what they say. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying the truth like wisdom does. All my words are righteous. All your words have to be righteous. As a child of God, nothing can be, crazy. Nothing can be off wall. It needs to all be. You need to fear the Lord so much that what you speak, you make sure it's effective and make sure it's exactly what God wants you to say and everything like that. But that verse is so powerful too, because just when it comes to other Christians too. There's one Christian at my church, man. He gave my dad a hard time. He didn't even show up to church no more. His name's Eugene, and this guy, man. He constantly liked all my stuff on social media at one point, and then he used to always comment. And now, I don't respond to comments no more, right? Because I can't. Yeah, it's too many. So he commented on all of them, and I would respond back and give him an answer. But that's all he did with his life. He was a critic. So remember, I posted one picture and I talked about it in a light group how you got critics, talkers, and doers. Yeah, you remember that? Yeah. So man, everybody's a critic. Most people just talk. Mm-hmm. But everybody's criticizing other people, criticizing LeBron, criticizing Tom Brady. You ain't in their shoes. You ain't doing anything with your life. Criticizing TD Jakes or me, somebody like that. You all criticizing, but some of y'all are talkers. Y'all actually talk a good game. You know the word of God and everything like that, but you aren't a doer. You aren't doing what you're criticizing other people to do. What sense does that make? People criticizing my social media page. When you don't post anything except for selfies on your social media page, but you're a Christian, a child, actually you post booty pictures. Then you want to criticize me. That's this verse is talking about that as well. What verse are we on? We're on verse 13. The fear of the Lord hates evil. Here goes evil, guys. A Christian who studies the word, all they do is study the word, right? Mm-hmm. But they don't ever act on it. Don't ever say. They don't ever go out and minister or anything. They just have all the Bible knowledge and everything, but stay under their bunker. Right. All the knowledge without the wisdom. Right. Another Christian would be like that Eugene guy talked about. Always reading the Bible, know everything, but criticize other people. But don't ever do anything. Mm-hmm. They don't ever try to reach people for Christ or anything. That's what a hypocrite, man. Yeah. Then, go ahead. Oh, no, you're good. It was just what you were saying. How much time do we have? Yeah, I can stop. Just remember what you want to say. Write it down. Don't forget. Because we're going to go on this. Guys, we got to stop for a minute, but we're going to start back. We're going to end this lesson. We're going to finish verse 13 to 14, then go to 17 to 21. But remember to subscribe to Upload Past Crossroads. Upload Past Crossroads. I'm butchering every word. Subscribe to Chaplain's Logs. That's Justin Lee Howell's page. You gotta come closer, man, because look how far away you are, man. We're angled. We're angled. Right. So we're so far away. I'm not far away. I'm almost the same distance. This one's fine, the way you look on Trouble Don't Last. Oh, I see. But the way I look, you can just see my head peeking out. But anyways. Guys, we'll see you in a minute. Subscribe. Follow my social media pages. Follow his. He's on Facebook. You on LinkedIn? Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. He's on LinkedIn. I didn't think about that. I'm trying to get him on Instagram, guys. We'll see if we can convert him. And Twitter too. And what else? Right. No, we're good. We'll build it from there. Just go to the YouTube series first. But man, if you guys really like this lesson, just pass it on to people. Yeah, pass on to this video. Sure, and look at other content. I know this guy has he has such a devout heart to God. Just look at his content. I think just spread the wisdom, spread the message. That's what we're trying to do with these lessons. Right. All right, guys. We'll see you in a minute. I gotta hurry up and end it for it doesn't save at all, which will be awful. You got 45 seconds. All right. Let me let that keep the time because I just gotta make sure this saves. I was gonna help you, but I don't. Oh yeah, you can go ahead. Don't want to press something that would delete the whole thing. Yeah, the biggest thing you gotta do is just share. Just keep it on. That's all I need you to do. Just make sure it don't shut off. Okay. Don't hit done. Just, got it. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll see you guys in a minute.